a lot of parents feel like, oh, I have to do something like that to give my kids some ultimate whatever. And we've got ways you can basically probably memories that they will remember longer just by doing simple things with the simple crafts.
We're putting the budget in Halloween.
That's right. This is your budget Halloween. Right. Welcome to the Empowering Choices Parenting Podcast. My name is Joshua.
I'm Lucas.
Good evening.
Wow. Lucas and Dracula over there.
Adam Sandler, directly transported from Transylvania.
Yes. They are licensed professional counselors, and today we are putting the fun in Halloween.
No.
Okay.
No.
Lucas doesn't like that title.
Halloween.
He wants the we in Halloween.
There's no F in Halloween. That's not how those are the way the letters go.
But putting the we in Halloween just sounds...
But the letters are there.
It's true. It's true.
Well,
I'll give you that. It's
better.
So we're talking about fun things that you can do with your family, with your kids to make Halloween fun. And I think one of the things that people often think of, I saw some people posting online about the Disney Spooktacular, and then I also saw some articles saying
that like down in California.
Yeah, they basically, I think like in mid-September they turn it all into a thing, which is really cool. And then I've seen several articles lately that have talked about how ridiculously expensive it has become to do anything related to Disney or any of these things. And I think a lot of parents feel like, oh, I have to do something like that to give my kids some ultimate whatever. And we've got ways you can basically probably memories that they will remember longer just by doing simple things with the simple crafts.
We're putting the budget in Halloween.
That's right. This is your budget Halloween.
Right. Well, and parenting can be extremely fun.
Yeah.
And some of the fondest memories I have around different holidays is when my mom would bring out the crafting things, and we would do things, or she had store-bought, types of things that would go in the windows for the different seasons, and it was just
like window
fun.
stickies.
Well, you go back farther, and they're made out of cardboard. They're not quite sticky. But
I don't know
you put tape on them, and then they work.
Yeah. I don't know what the things that you get now are made of. I think it's just concentrated boogers.
That's yeah. Moving right along.
You'll never look at them the same way again.
Right. No, it today has a lot of different materials that you can be able to purchase and put up. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, how do you want to do it as a family? What do you want to buy different crafts things and put together things that you did when you were kids or similar to that?
Yeah.
Are there things that they, bring home from school that you want to, be able to kind of use as a springboard?
Right.
But how to use it as some time that you can spend with your kids having fun.
Well, and the thing that I think that you've written in the manual, this is the way that I think about this, is like your kid's going to remember coloring at the kitchen table probably more than Disneyland if the only thing you ever did with them was just Disneyland.
Yeah. Yeah. Most stories about Disneyland that I hear about from people, whether they're clients or just people in general, is, wow, that was fun. It was an experience, but there was a lot of chaos to it. Mm-hmm. And the deeper I get into it, that was like one of the only things they did as a family in a year.
Yeah.
And so you have all of this relationship gleaning that you're trying to do in the midst of hundreds to thousands of other people trying to do the exact same thing, possibly. And you have all these rides and all this chaos and all this expense and all these lines.
Which probably only adds to the stress and making
very much so.
Human interaction less good.
Whereas when I say, what are your favorite memories with your parents, it usually comes down, and I'm just using coloring at the kitchen table.
Yeah, it's just
but
a catch-all.
Some type of an individual activity between parents and child or parents and children that was concentrated and fun. And you got the time you were trying to glean out of Disneyland that was never going to work like that.
Right. Yeah, I always think about, there's two different things that I've seen just at different times through the years on social media. One of them was like a parent who posted a picture of her kids in line at Disney, and like one of them is crying and one of them is whatever and one is this, and she's like, I paid $1,000 for tickets for this. Another one was, it was like one of those things where someone's like, when you do this, it's like when you travel to California and you do this and you spend all this to be at Disney and all your child wants to do is go back to the hotel to swim in the pool.
Right.
You know.
Right, which you could have gone
Yeah.
down the street for.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You
So-
know, there's those pieces that you have to kind of
Right.
look at.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the different ages of your child may bring about different things. You know,
Right.
maybe you just should have taken them to like Wolf Creek Lodge, which is just a bunch of
quite the
swimming
right
pools.
it,
It's
but-
not the right name, is it? Wolf.
Nope, it's
No,
not
I
coming
think
to
that,
me.
yeah, I think that is.
Is it?
It's
Are you
Yeah.
sure? I'm gonna fact check.
Somebody fact check it and get us the right one.
Lodge.
fact check in real time.
The Great Wolf Lodge.
Great
you
Wolf
are
Lodge.
correct.
See, I
Okay.
was so close.
I think I've been calling it Wolf Creek Lodge for years
Right.
too.
Wolf
So
yeah.
Lucas knew though.
Well,
He knew we
and
knew.
that's a part of knowing your kids. If your
Right.
kids like the swimming pool atmosphere better,
Right.
Disneyland may not be the thing for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that it's wrong.
Nope.
No.
You can totally do it. But yeah, like when I was a kid, I lived in Arkansas. We were within driving distance of Florida, so we went to Disney World a few times.
Right.
But we also were 4 hours from Branson, Missouri, which was like kind of like hillbilly country. And a Disney trip, you know, if it cost that on the money scale, going to Branson was more, you know, like this. And those were my more favorite trips just because we could just go and do it. And yeah, I think I had just as much fun.
Was it more like Splash Mountain in a wash tub?
Something like that, yeah.
I literally have no idea. That
No,
was just the goofiest thing I could think of.
Yeah, no, it is, and Branson has grown into more of a vacation destination than when I was a kid. But yeah, I just didn't, you know. But even when I think about that compared to just some of the weekends we had at home, it's
Right.
not all. Just
So
spinning.
on the factor of how much money that you can spend, Josh, you said you recently purchased googly eyes.
Yes,
And were shocked at how inexpensive the stuff.
Yeah.
This would be a teaser for future upcoming publications of this podcast.
totally, yeah.
Where we may stick googly eyes on Josh.
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to do some crafts that you can check. If you're not following our social media, definitely follow it so that you can see this. But we are going to do some crafts to help show some of this stuff. And yeah, I bought like googly eyes and pipe cleaner and little puffball things to make spiders and construction, all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, like $5 or $6 for like a whole pile of art supplies. And so that was kind of cool because especially today, it's like everything is getting expensive. Like, I mean, I don't even know, you go to anywhere and it's like, whoa. I felt like I leave the grocery store with like one little bag and they're wanting a Benjamin for it.
$300.
Yeah. And so I was impressed that this kind of stuff is still pretty cheap, and you just have to be resourceful. Look online, see, you can find things, and like we have this magazine that Eric's brought in that has lots of fun stuff in it, and that's kind of been an inspiration.
I saw some at Winco, this magazine. Yeah.
Oh, you saw it. You saw it at Walmart, and then you saw it at
Yeah,
Winco again.
I
Nice.
bought one at Walmart, one at Target, and Winco still has them.
Nice.
You know,
Oh, so they're
a
like
little bit
in
of-
all like
at
the
your
local
local
retail
grocery
places.
store.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Now I will say this. I don't know if you guys remember, I think on a previous podcast, we were talking about going to the pumpkin patch, and I mentioned that they had apple cider slushies.
Okay.
Yep.
There's like a caveat coming. Like, what's the
There is.
disclaimer here?
I have been...
Do you have some of those for us today?
Okay, well, listen.
Ooh.
Well, get this. I have been waiting for a long time to find this thing that's like a hot thing that's been on, like it's hard to find. They're all sold out. You know the Ninja, like the Ninja blender, that company that makes
Yeah.
the kitchen. Okay.
Yeah, I have one.
They have made a slushy machine.
Oh, there you go.
Ninja made a slushy
Ninja made a
machine.
slushy machine, and I've been working for months to get one. I finally got one. I got it yesterday.
Ah.
I was very excited. And here's what I did. You know what the first thing I poured in that was? Apple cider. And I made myself an apple cider slush.
slushy.
And it was actually really good.
Very nice.
So anyways, there's foods you could make. You don't have to necessarily go get a Ninja slushy maker, but if
Right.
you do, that's a lot of fun. But yeah.
And then,
So,
that's awesome.
And then, like the real best part of the episode, Josh, would be you wheel it in to the studio, and
That would be true. You never know, though. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. We'll see.
the audience is disappointed. And by the audience, I mean Eric.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I want my slushy.
We'll see.
Where's my slushy?
We might have some apple cider slushies.
Bring me the
Slushy would
slushy.
be like a fancy version of an ice crusher, give or take.
True. The difference is if you do it with ice, you're literally, chopping ice and then putting stuff with it.
Okay.
When you do a slushy, it just takes 100% pure apple cider or whatever it is and then freezes that into a slush. Yeah, it basically just has a core that's like a that's
It's like a freezer with a
frozen.
spinning chunk.
Yep, and then it just spins around
Whoa.
it. Yeah.
So the moral of the story is, as you're preparing in October
Yes.
for the upcoming Halloween,
Yeah.
as a parent, there could be things that you might want to purchase
Yeah.
that you bring out during those different nights, evenings, days that everybody's working on,
Yep.
whatever it is for Halloween. And you have this, slushy.
Yeah, and
piece
like
that
that's
could be a
literally
part of
my
it.
plan. Every Friday or every Saturday night, I host a big family dinner, and I
Apple
haven't
cider
told
slushy.
anyone.
Gonna be
Haven't
slushies.
told anyone about the slushy machine, and I'm going to unveil it when everyone comes over, and I'm popping
You
out.
realize
apple
you're
cider.
unveiling it right now, and they
Right.
may not.
True.
If you're in
Yeah.
Josh's family,
True.
stop watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully,
well,
this will air after
yeah.
Saturday. Yeah.
And it's
I'm
too
just-
late after you say that
True.
part.
I'm just thinking about, you said it's like an agitator
Yes.
that's frozen. I mean, isn't that kind of similar to just what a washing machine has in it?
Sort
if you can
of.
freeze a washing machine, can you turn it into a giant slushy
You
maker?
might could. Remember that red green guy? Do you know who I'm talking about?
100%.
Yeah,
Sounds
I feel
exactly
like
what he would
could do that. He could.
We're
make
gonna combine. We're
slushy.
gonna combine a washing machine
Right.
and a freezer, and we're gonna make the world's biggest slushy maker.
Yes.
I'll bet you there's something
Yeah.
there. I bet you
Yeah,
can figure that out.
would be good. So yeah,
Eric, you're good with mechanics, right? We can make one.
I can make mechanics fly.
That's not that's not what I meant.
That's how I'm good at it.
So one of the things that I did think was worth talking about is, and if you watch our things, you'll kind of see. If you look through this magazine,
You watch our things, I apologize profusely.
True.
You're just having to sit through this.
if you look through this magazine,
I'm having fun.
you're gonna see that this stuff is pretty much like perfect. Okay.
It's pretty much perfect, he
it's
says.
Well,
perfect.
it's
like
supposed to be.
the
There.
perfect.
This is what happens to
spiders.
the mechanic after he flies.
There you go.
Is that-
There it
yeah.
is, right there.
You can zoom in
I
on
can
them.
make
Yep.
mechanics fly.
And then they end up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boom. And so what I
In the
mean
sludge
by
pit?
this is my arts and crafts don't look that nice, and that's okay.
Well, but
Well, that's actually
they
a
take
really
time,
good point.
Yeah.
It's and they're not, like you said, it's okay. The arts and crafts, because I mean, it brings up a good point.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think everything needs to be like perfect,
Right.
and
If you're making arts and crafts with your kids, holy smokes, they're not going to be.
It's
Let me
the
tell you.
journey.
well,
of
but
it.
it's the parents, it's us as the adults that sometimes think, look, I went through grade school, I went through middle school, I went through high school. We didn't do much crafts in high school, but then I'm an adult. I should be able to just get this done and do it.
Yeah.
Well, my question then becomes, were you good at it when you did it as a kid? And a lot of them will go, no.
Mhm. So why would you be good at it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, and they're like, well, that's why I shouldn't do it. And I'm like, no, that's why you should do it.
Yeah.
It's because you're going to have kids who are going to be struggling with this, and they're going to be, a lot of them, thinking that it needs to be as perfect as
That's
the
super
picture.
crisp.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then like your 2-year-old's going to put the eyeballs on the bottom. Right? I mean, like
Right.
it's just
Right.
hello.
And that's a part of it, is that you have fun making it whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, because there's a difference between, do I just want to do it and it's just going to look the way it's going to look, and we're
Right.
just going to have a fun moment, which
Right.
is great, because that's an important thing that you're teaching your kids.
Yeah.
Is that you can be flexible and have fun.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't matter at the end of the day how
Right.
it looks, but that may be a springboard for something else. Now, if you as a parent really wanted to come up with this level of, craft,
Yeah.
you might want to spend some time before you do it with the kids,
Right.
and just cutting on some of those things and playing around with some of those things. You might want to, let's say this Halloween, this comes out, less than picture perfect.
Yeah.
But then you just take some time throughout the year, and you're just making some things as a part of practice, because it's amazing what kind of time we have if we're just watching TV and movies,
Right.
and you pull in and just cut and paste and do some things like that while you're watching TV and movies, if you wanted to get better at that.
Right.
And your kids actually might go, hey, I want to do some too. I thought we only did this for Halloween. And then you're like, well, no, I want to
Man,
get
you
better
haven't seen
at
the
this.
corner of my living room.
But that's your thing.
I play with super glue year round.
Right. And that's what you do as a part of your interests and talents and hobbies. I have other corners that are like for mine type thing. And so you work with that in order to be able to do it in a more proficient way that you choose.
Right.
Well, I think you might even be advocating for people to have hobbies.
Exactly.
So like those are good for you as a human and an
100%.
adult. And then as a parent, and then if your children see you having hobbies, like
Yep.
they should have them too, because they're just good for humans.
They are extremely good for humans, and here's why. They vent out emotions and stress. I can't tell you how many times, because one of the things I do is write, and in the story that's turning more into a book right now that I'm writing.
Your short story that's turning into a series.
Well, it's 28 chapters, not 28 books yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
There have been times where it's like, okay, I've got like 20 minutes, half hour. I am just dead tired. I don't even know if I want to mess with this, but you know what? I'm going to get in there and, I'm just going to do a little bit, maybe a paragraph or something, play with it. And the next thing I know, I look up and it's 45 minutes later and I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I think I feel more awake.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing the effect that working with our hands and working with our brain has on the human body itself,
Right.
And so, like this, and I'm an artist and I love doing different things, but I would kill these. These would look horribly Frankensteinian.
Which could be actually really delightful
It
considering the
could
season.
be, but I would be looking at that picture going, I want them to look like that.
Right.
And they would look like
Those are like colored? Like did they use markers
Yeah.
on a toilet paper tube? Is that generally what I'm seeing there?
well,
It doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's
I
cut
think they
out.
hired
No,
a fleet of professional artists to
Well,
make these.
they did.
Yeah.
They, professional crafters.
Yeah.
And so the thing
I'm
is,
saying crafts aren't art.
yes, but I want to, sometimes you need to specify in that because if it's just not necessarily the exact same type of an artist.
Right.
But the ones that they've hired are very good at this. This would not come out the way for me that it's coming out here. But now if I practiced it, it would, you know, and it's just, do I want to do
And-
that?
and it's okay that
Goofiest
it's not.
looking. I'm just looking
really
at those.
are.
Like, what in heaven's
Yeah.
name did they come up with there?
I think one of the fascinating things is it seems like today there's so many opportunities for kids to do things that are not actually hands-on, that are
Yes.
like watching, consuming,
On a screen.
taking, tapping a screen. And you look at all the interesting
Right.
things that people can do when they grow up. So you look at like people who are master woodcrafters and who make things and do stuff with their hands. Well, this is where it starts. This is where with a kid, you can start to do things and they use their hands and they make things and they go, oh, I'm really good at that. Oh, I'm maybe not so good at this. Oh, I
Right.
more enjoy doing whatever. And I would even take it a step farther. If you have a kid who's interested in photography or whatever, make some of this stuff, set it up as a scene, photograph it. Like there's so many different
There's
ways.
so many things
that this
you
can lead
do.
you. Yeah.
All of our great film people throughout, the history of film have in some way at some point, generally speaking, and usually as kids or, junior high, someone there, used their houses, their bedrooms, their kitchens as a way of beginning to start to learn film.
Yeah.
And so there's really cool things that you could do regardless of what the interests are of the kids in your house.
Right.
And how do you want to do it? More and more of our society is going to technology. I heard from somebody, a parent yesterday, that the way their child is learning math is basically exactly like what you two look like, with the headset on
Right.
and they have it connected to the screen and
Yeah.
then they're doing things and they don't know if it's right or it's
Yeah.
wrong, but they do through the process. I know of a girl that she could not get through some of her math and through some of these newer standards. And then she had someone who took her up to a whiteboard and said, let's try this. And suddenly doing it in that fashion, writing on a whiteboard, looking at it differently, having position differently, she was getting it all.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so there's so many things. I love technology, but there's so many things that it's becoming everything.
Right.
And so like this is like one of my favorite things.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're like paper dolls.
Yeah.
Or I think you could, I don't know if that's the right
There's
word.
similar
Yeah.
things at Christmas that you can do, but paper dolls. And, you know, so like that'd be something that I would just be naturally navigate towards.
Right.
You know, and being able to cut something out like that. Now, granted, yes, that one we showed earlier, the painting and the colors, I'd love to try that as well. But you find different things. I think we talking about kind of trick or treating a little bit. Make your own trick or treat bag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe it's not a bag. Maybe you go to the dollar store and you find different things. You know, they have the pre-made types of candy, you know, jugs and things. But then if you were to come home and you decorate it further,
Right.
you know, that could be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So there's lots. I mean, you're talking about trick or treating, right? And there's like a million things that you could talk about that. I wonder even how prevalent trick or treating is anymore. I mean,
That's a good
it's like
question.
post pandemic, I feel like it really took a hit.
Pandemic did do a huge hit. I've seen it I've never really lived in most of my adult life in neighborhoods where trick or treating would occur. I was the one house off the beaten track or behind everything, and nobody even knew, you know, that there was anything there.
Right.
And last year in the house we live in now, I did notice, because I'm driving through the neighborhood to even see if trick or treating exists anymore. It does. In our neighborhood,
in my neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, they had it. We live on the end of the street now, next to a busy street, so I'm still kind of off the beaten track.
Right.
But it is happening out there. You know, as of last year, what I saw.
Yeah. No, our neighborhood is like, we have a ton of people. Now, granted, it's like the kind of neighborhood where it's like house with like 0 lot lines, and, you know, the backyard is super small. And so there's just a ton of families, and it's pretty condensed. And so it gets pretty exciting. Yeah.
I think one of the big differences, like when I was a kid, is now you have a lot of safety pieces that are playing a part.
Yeah.
So a lot of churches will do trunk and treat.
Yep.
And
or even
so
like libraries and
Yeah.
schools
Yeah.
and businesses and
cars become a part of it,
Yep.
and you go from car to car to car, and it's people that you know within that parking lot.
Yeah, and those are especially great, especially when your kids are younger, just because it's easy to corral them. It's better lit. It's not.
there's less walking.
Yeah.
If
there's
your kid's
less
literally
walking.
2.
Yeah, and you can just get it all done.
Although we did put our kid in a wagon, and that really did facilitate the going from house to house.
Okay, that's fun. Yeah.
That can work well.
If you really want to get excited, you decorate the wagon as part of the Halloween costume. I can't think what you'd decorate a wagon as immediately, but
the thing that's kind of
Covered
cool
wagon.
that the I'm trying to remember what it's called now, but basically like the trunk or treat or whatever. But the at our church that we take our kid to, they have the gym with like all the games and all
Harvest
the stuff.
Festival.
Something
That's usually
like-
what
yeah.
churches will.
But
deviate
then
from Halloween.
they have a whole hallway, and you go down it, and there's all these doors, and they're all decorated, and the kids do, you go to the door and knock, and they open and
Sometimes
give you
they'll
the
do that at
candy.
a school
Yeah.
or even like
Yeah.
at a mall.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can do trick or treating
so
at
it's
a
a very
mall.
similar experience. But yeah, you always hear every year, at least when I was a kid, I remember there's always be like, oh, there's someone's putting a needle in the apple, or, which I never,
Razor
no one ever
blade.
gave me an apple. If someone had given me an apple, I would have probably just thrown it away. I mean, to be honest with you.
When I was a kid too, which is more when the needles and the razor
Yeah.
blades, because that was the thing. It's like, wait, we're getting candy, and
Right. Not
why am I getting an apple? Was it at an old person's house?
Right.
Yeah.
My impression of that story is that like, oh, the candy's poisoned or
Yeah.
whatever, was that like it happened in one circumstance,
Right.
and the circumstance, obviously a terrible circumstance, not to make light of it, but like it was someone within the family trying to harm their own children. Right? That was what the news story was. It wasn't
Sure.
a random person trying to harm random kids. It was the way that a lot of terrible things happen is it's from people against people and that's what the story was. So like, yeah, random poisoned Halloween candy like statistically doesn't happen.
It doesn't. I mean, when I was growing up, there were a couple situations in the town we lived in that there were a couple things found. I mean, my dad would personally go through all of our candy and just check for, what is this? Is it wrapped?
That's usually a good indicator.
Is it homemade?
Yeah.
Because even if it's homemade with the best of intentions, it could be that, it had salmonella in some.
I've seen my 2-year-old lick the spoon when she's in the kitchen.
Exactly. And so the rule in our family was you only got what was store-bought, factory-made candy. And that was part of his reason for going through it. I mean, it really was a good safety reason, but the other 25% of it was he loved Baby Ruth.
I was just going to say, he was pulling the Snickers out or whatever.
So you kind of, he also,
I know they were Baby Ruth in here, Dad. No, they weren't factory wrapped, kid. I'm sorry.
Now, the good thing is I didn't really care about Baby Ruth, so he could have all those he wanted, but it was the Reese's peanut butter cups. It was the Three Musketeers, and he liked Butterfingers. And so I would make every attempt I could to be able to put those in my pocket.
Hide those?
Yep. And so, because then he'd catch on later on. It's like, all right, now empty your pockets. Like, crap, now I got to figure this out a different way.
Yeah.
My wife has been big, because of her own personal life circumstances, food allergies around trick-or-treating.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there's one of the things, if I'm remembering correctly, if you hang up a like turquoise colored pumpkin, that indicates that you're like, my house has allergy-friendly things.
Yeah.
So it's certainly one of the elements to keep in mind. I could be misremembering that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Or you could just put a big old sign that says allergy-friendly or something on a chalkboard.
Yeah, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
My sister, has severe peanut and tree nut allergies.
Oh,
and
gosh.
So it's just
No
always
Snickers.
Right, I was gonna say how many peanuts are in candy bars, man.
Right.
Yeah, Reese's, the whole
thousand. What's that? 1,000 bars.
Almost
1,000.
everything, even things you think wouldn't have something.
100 grand,
a trace of nut.
whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
right.
a thing.
Peanuts and everything. Yeah. If you got a peanut allergy, man. Woo.
Yeah. So we're, I'm always conscious just because of growing up with a sister who had that. But we always try to make sure that we have things on hand for people who are allergic to different.
Like an EpiPen.
That too, but
what do you want for Halloween, kid? An EpiPen.
EpiPen. Give me.
I'm gonna eat the Reese's, and I'm gonna take the EpiPen. No,
by the way,
a good joke.
I did some hillbilly research here in the last few minutes. This is unconfirmed.
I don't think a hillbilly knows how to use Google.
Well, this hillbilly does.
No, actually, in the modern days, yes.
So
they're on TikTok.
This is not confirmed. This is just from one news agency, but alleges that since 1958, there are 200 confirmed cases of candy tampering in the U.S. and Canada. So I don't know what that would be.
Small number considering the amount of years that have gone.
Right. If you take all the years, that would be
it's
some
a small
point 0.0000 whatever. So it has happened and it does happen, but it is very rare.
Yeah.
So obviously, like with any trick or treating, whether we're talking about safety or allergies, it boils down to know your kid, right? Yeah. If you have a kid who has a severe peanut allergy, you're going to want to think about what trick or treating means.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Don't just send them out at, whatever and then have them decipher.
Yeah. And then if you are the, we're going to stay at home and hand out candy. Cause you were saying that like you did that as a kid and that was a good experience when you stayed home on purpose to man the candy bowl.
That was fun.
Contemplate having, allergy friendly substitute stuff.
Right.
Sometimes even like, let's tie together two things. You were talking about like inexpensive craft type projects. There's probably, cause I think like, what are those little like plastic spider rings?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You could hand those out to like, no allergens in those.
Yeah, it's not even food.
Don't eat them.
Right.
So there's things you can hand out for Halloween that are like, actually, I think one of the good ones that we got one time were glow sticks.
Yeah.
Like little like decorated like Halloween glow sticks. And then you're out in the dark. So like those are neat. Right. And then it's, it's allergy friendly.
And I will say, you were mentioning, you just touched about the homemade stuff. And most people, parents who have kids with allergies, know this, but you may realize that you're in charge of a kid with allergies, like say they're over at your house and you're taking them or whatever. And so not everyone is as conscious of this, but like even in my own family, my grandmother would make us these like bonbons. Is that like I don't know. I grew up in the South. Is that a normal thing? People familiar with that? Okay. Yeah. And so she makes the ones without the nuts for my sister, except that one Christmas she got really confused and she gave my sister ones with nuts, said they didn't have nuts.
Whoops.
So after double, triple checking, and this was a day that I flew in for Christmas, we got there like really late. So we're doing like Christmas at like 10 at night and sitting around, and she ends up taking a bite of one of these and immediately realizes it has a nut in it. We end up having to EpiPen her, and then we spend Christmas at the hospital until like 4 or 5 in the morning. Okay. So it's just, it's hard to be.
That's kind of scary. We want Halloween to be, Josh.
Exactly. So yeah. So
we want it to be about bedsheet ghosts, not EpiPens.
I remember what made us run from house to house when I was trick-or-treating in grade school. It was and it was very allergy-free, $5 bills.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that worked.
The house that gave out money.
That would
That's
work.
hilarious.
It was awesome.
Amazing.
The
house that gave
I know.
out $5
There's
bills.
several times where I've sprinted a good quarter mile or more. And I get to the house and the lady goes, "I'm sorry, I just gave out the last one."
Oh, because she had X amount. That was it.
She has X amount. And she
gosh.
will only open her doors at a certain time. And then, it's like a sale after on Black Friday. But we do kind of look at it so much as candy, but it really could be so many different things that you could give out at Halloween. That could be really cool, that kids might enjoy.
Right.
I'm thinking of the terrible stereotype of the dentist handing out toothbrushes and floss on Halloween.
I think those came back to his house.
I didn't say it was a good idea. It was just
it's a thing you could do.
Right. The one house that got egged all the time.
Exactly. The dentist's house. Oh, man. Well, we should probably wrap this one up before we get further off the rails.
Yes.
I don't know how many topics did we talk about today?
A lot.
Know your kid, color with them at the kitchen table, and don't hand out toothbrushes on Halloween.
There you go.
So, we still have food, and we still have decorations, and we still have costumes.
And we're going to put googly eyes on Josh in a special
and crafting.
episode.
Yeah. So, we still have things that we can go with.
We'll be doing Halloween long into Christmas, by the way this sounds.
Well, we can't. We're going to have to splice in Thanksgiving.
True. That's true.
We're getting googly eyes on the turkey.
Yes. But if you are not subscribed, definitely subscribe. Go to our social media channels, search Empowering Choices Parenting, so you can see some of these crafts and some of the stuff that we're going to do. And we have plenty more to talk about. So we will see you on our next episode.
And I don't say blah, 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 blah.
You just did.